Hello everybody! Today I will be showing you how to take this humble pallet wood and turn it into a unique handmade penny board by means of woodworking. Disclaimer, I have no woodworking experience prior to the making of this video, which is why I wanted to try and make a product from it via woodworking methods. So I guess we'll see how this goes. I'll be walking you through each step of the process as we go, starting with the salvaging process.
When I was salvaging the wood, there were a lot of stray nails in the pallet, so I used a skill saw to cut the ends of the boards so I only had to remove a third of the nails than I did prior. Then, I used a hammer and a crowbar to take out the rest of the nails and salvage as much wood as possible without splitting any boards. I then used a planer to plane down the faces of each of the boards in order to make each board completely uniform. The table saw was then used to cut the boards into strips that had the length of the original board, but a thickness of about half an inch. I then had to glue the strips of wood together, and the reason for cutting the wood and gluing everything back together is because it allows me to offset the grain structure of the wood, which ultimately makes it stronger in the end. And also, wood glue is stronger than the wood itself, which means the plank of wood once dry will be stronger than if it were forged out of one piece of wood. Clamps were then strategically used to tightly compress all the wood together in order to make a strong bond once the glue has dried. The glue was left there for about 24 hours in order for the glue to dry properly and guarantee the desired rigidity. I then printed out a 2-scale sticker of my SolidWorks model and put it on the newly made blank and used the vertical bandsaw in order to cut the rough shape of the board. I wasn't able to cut with extreme precision because the blade would deflect every once in a while and cut along an undesired path. And this is what it looked like once finished with the vertical bandsaw. In order to finalize the shape of the board, I used a belt sander, and I used different sanders for different parts of the board because sections of the wood are sanded off easier depending on the orientation of the grain structure, which at first had a bit of a learning curve to it. And here is a quick look at the final shape of the board before heading back to the planer. The board at this point was about 1.5 inches thick, and I wanted it to be half an inch, so I used a planer to cut the extra inch of thickness off. And I did this by sending it through and then measuring it with a tape measure. As you can see, the edges of the board are pretty sharp at this point, and I wanted a pretty large fillet around the entirety of the board. So instead of using a router, I alternatively went old school and sanded down the sides and faces of the board by hand.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. So this is the finished product. I think it turned out pretty well considering I had to redesign it. At first I wanted to take each plank and plane it down and make my own wood veneers that I could then form into an angled tail, but unfortunately I did not have enough material to do so, so that's why the board's flat. But I still think it turned out pretty well considering my woodworking experience, or I guess you could say the lack thereof. Before I go, I want to say a special thanks to Dave. He's a volunteer at the George Fox University Woodshop. I could not have done this without him, so thank you so much. You are a woodworking legend. And so I just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it was at least slightly entertaining to watch. And until next time.